everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to Mystical Munchies, featuring the Cooking for Wizards, Warriors, and Dragons cookbook. Today we're going to be making the dessert, coconut pie, after the poached fish with white wine sauce and fennel turned out to be pretty good last week. Now, for those of you who are expecting the runaway fruit tarts, who didn't watch last night's product unboxing video, let me explain a little bit what happened. So when I was doing my normal grocery shopping yesterday for some of my prep ingredients, I couldn't find the substitute I was after for one of the ingredients in the runaway fruit tarts. So, knowing that problem, I decided to call an audible on the recipe. So I decided to change it up, and we're going to make some coconut pie instead. With that, let's go ahead and tell the story on this one. The last two recipes have been inspired by Jacqueline Carey's Kushiel's Legacy series. This one was inspired by Tomi Adeyemi's Legacy of Orisha series. When readers first meet Amari, she is being subtly berated by her mother, the Queen. Amari doesn't quite fit the vision the Queen has for a crown princess. She's not refined enough, she doesn't look as beautiful or elegant as she should, her skin isn't the right shade, and so on. To rectify the situation, the Queen strictly controls all the facets of Amari's life that she can. What she wears, how she behaves in public, what she eats. In this scene, both Amari and her mother are receiving important guests, and the kitchen have brought out usually off-limits foods, such as this fluffy coconut pie. Amari, a wise princess, seizes the opportunity and digs in, letting her mother's barbs float past her as she delights in the forbidden dessert. Well, hopefully forbidden because it's very tasty and unhealthy, but we'll find out about the tasty part. The ingredients are waiting for us at the table, so let's move in that direction. As you can probably guess by the rough ingredients split, we've got something of a two-parter. So to make the dough, we need 1 cup, aka 2 sticks of butter, half a cup of powdered sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, and 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm going to measure it into the measuring cup after we move into the kitchen. To make the filling, we need another 1/4 cup of unsalted butter, which I'm working on softening there, half a cup of granulated sugar, 3 eggs beaten. They're just off shot here. Normally I'd beat the eggs together when it calls for 3 like that, but I beat them separately, and there's a reason for that. 3 more tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1½ cups of sweetened shredded coconut, which I've got right here, a cup of evaporated milk, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and half a teaspoon each of vanilla and coconut extract. With that, let's move into the kitchen and start putting this recipe together. We've got the oven preheating to 350 already, so you may hear that kind of chirping in the background. And it's our first time we get to use the stand mixer. I've been hesitant about doing recipes that require mixers, but now that I've got the stand mixer, we're going to give this one a whirl. Wasn't exactly planned because I had to call the audible on the fruit tarts. We will do the fruit tarts another time, but for now, we've got the mixer with the paddle attachment in there, so we're going to take the butter, sugar, and salt, and we're going to mix that until it's light and creamy. So we're going to start off by adding the butter. We need 2 sticks of that to get to a cup of butter. There's 1. Right. And 2. And we need half a cup of the powdered sugar. Let's see. I'm going to mix that up over the sink, actually, or by the sink. Or pour it, I should say, not mix it. All right. having to cut out my other bag, but that was to be expected. Which we should be able to get in here and scoop the rest out. A little more. Okay. So we're all good there. There's our half cup of powdered sugar. That can hit the dishwater. Powdered sugar, once I get this clipped and sealed, can go back up. Right? Yes. Okay. And then half a teaspoon of salt. Oh, that's a little more than half a teaspoon, but both of those can move back toward the table. Right, the salt, how much salt? Actually, no, the half teaspoon needed to move back to the table. The salt can go back up. Now we're going to put this in the ingredients, and we're going to mix this until that gets to be light and creamy. So we're going to put this on. Okay. I don't want to turn this on too fast and have it be too loud so I can't talk over top of it. What I do want to do, though, is I'm going to get a spatula out so I can try to bring some of the butter stuff, so I can try to bring some of that back over and scrape the edges of the bowl. I'll probably need that more once I start adding the flour there. But just a little something to keep in mind. I'll mix that up a little bit more. I imagine we want to keep that mixing while we slowly mix the flour into the butter mixture. So now we're going to take our 2 cups of flour that I separated earlier and slowly add it in. Let me see if I can add it using the spout here, because that seems like a pretty logical thing you might want to do. Okay. Actually, it might be a little bit easier to do this. So I'll lift that up. Actually, that's not much better. I probably... okay, we can add the rest of that in. A little bit of the dough on there, but not too much. Okay. You do a little bit of... I'm going to shut this off. Probably should have locked this in place. And actually, I think that's got it pretty well. Okay. So now that that seems to be pretty well mixed up, let's let's go ahead and bring the pie plate in shot. Right as I turned the camera on, the oven just came up to temperature. So now we're going to take the dough from the mixing bowl, put it into our pie plate. I'm going to move the pie plate over toward the dishes because I will need to clean it before the next step. So I'm going to press that into my pie plate. I'm hoping I can run it up the sides. Seems like it should be plenty of room to try to run it up. Yeah, I think that will work pretty well. Yeah. Okay. I've never made dough from scratch, so this should be an interesting experience as well. Okay. Maybe I'll try to keep that as solid as I can. All right, I think that's as good as that's going to get, so we can move that into the fridge. Is there a time I want to let that sit for? Not necessarily. So once I move that into the fridge, which I'm going to take care of now, I clear out some space for it. Okay, we'll move that into the fridge. I'm going to get the mixing bowl and the paddle attachment clean, and then we'll come back to the mixing bowl in shot. Now that the mixer bowl and the paddle attachment are clean once again, now we're going to take the butter. By the way, I said 1/4 cup of butter for the filling. We actually need 3/4 of a cup. Apparently somebody can't read with the font on here, and I'm thinking it's me. So we'll drop the 1/4 cup of butter that's been softening in. I gave this a little bit of time to soften, but it still seems pretty, well, it's softening-ish, the stick of butter, because 3/4 of a cup is a stick and a half of butter. And then we need 1/2 cup of sugar. Then we're going to beat that until then we're going to cream that together until it's light and fluffy. We got a spatula, right, in case we need to scrape the edges again, but I think this is going to take care of that pretty well. Alright, so now that that's all done, now we're going to add in the eggs. Actually, I'm going to leave that stirring, because now we're going to add in the eggs one at a time. Here's the first egg. Dishwater. I'm going to bring the other two over as well. Second egg. And the third. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit of scraping with the edges of the bowl. Okay. Now we want to start adding everything else in. 3 more tablespoons of flour. I didn't realize we were going to need that as well as I was getting ingredients together. Fortunately, I've got my 1.5 tablespoon here. So that can go back up. 1.5 cups of the coconut. So I've got that right here. Right. Next, I'm going to grab a gallon bag for that so I can put that up right away. Also going to clip that while I'm at it. Definitely one thing I like about having a stand mixer where I can actually walk away from it and it's going to keep working. That's going to take me a little bit of getting used to, that's for sure. Okay, now I want the cup of evaporated milk. Which I'm just going to hold that up so you can see that it's evaporated milk. There we go. I was not wanting to lip off quite clean. Maybe I'll pour that over the bowl. Okay. I'm just going to pour the rest of that out since I know I'm not going to use it. And then we want all the spices now. Quarter teaspoon of nutmeg. And half a teaspoon each of vanilla and coconut extracts. The coconut extract, of course, I'll have to crack open. That seems really runny. Hopefully when it goes into the oven, that'll take care of any problems I'm having with it, but that, I don't know, that seems a little liquidy for comfort for me. Counter a little quick wipe off. Take a quick look at this. My instincts are telling me that's still... This seems like it's too liquidy. One thing I know is when my instincts tell me something, I listen. And that's what my instincts are telling me right now. I'm going to give this another couple of minutes, but... Again, this is my first time making coconut pie. I should probably mention that. I do a lot of these recipes first time live on Mystical Munchies. I mind that a lot less than I mind playing games for the first time through, but I still do play some games for the first time live on the channel. We'll go like another minute or two. But I am going to get the pie crust out. That's been setting in the fridge. It actually, now that I'm looking at it, this might be supposed to go into the... Maybe this is supposed to go into the oven a little liquidy and set in there. Because they're talking about baking it in the middle, baking it for 25 to 35 minutes or until the filling sets. So maybe it is supposed to go in a little bit liquidy. That's possible. I still don't feel like it should be that liquidy going in to the oven, but we are going to find out soon enough if I'm being paranoid or if my instincts are onto something. But of course, my instincts are usually onto something. Just getting my timer ready. I think we'll get that about another 30 seconds. And then we'll pour it into the pie crust. Okay. I think we'll go ahead and kill that. And we'll lift that out. We'll give that a quick little scrape. Alright, we've got the pie crust coming into shot right here. I'll go ahead and loosen the bowl, and then we'll pour this into the pie crust, which is just off shot. That still seems more than a little liquidy, but we're gonna go with it. That can drop in there. So that's a first look at the coconut pie. I'm gonna move the camera out of the way just a touch so I can get it into the oven. Then I'll start the timer for 35 minutes. And we'll come back after that for our first look at the finished product. Here's our first look at the finished product of the coconut pie coming out of the oven. It got a little bit brown on top. I also had it on the top rack of the oven, but it doesn't look to be too terribly brown. So we can probably manage that. Anyway, we'll cut a slice off of this. I'll get a slice plated, and I'll meet you guys over at my desk for the taste test. Admittedly, I was expecting the pie to be a little bit more solid. Maybe it'll set in the fridge or something, but whether it gets to the fridge is a question that can only be answered by the taste test. So, let's find out, shall we? It got to the point where I needed to grab a spoon, and it probably needed some time coming out of the oven to set. But let's find out. It's not really overly sweet, which is another thing I was worried about. I'm a little bit bothered by the very liquidy consistency of it, but I don't know if that's something I just need to get used to with using the stand mixer a little bit more, or if there's something in the recipe that I might have botched. It doesn't taste bad, but like I said, the consistency is just something that kind of bothers me a little bit. But that is another episode of Mystical Munchies in the books. Next week we'll be into a new cookbook, but I'll have more details on that during the end of February recap, which as of now I'm expecting to be Thursday. As for the games, tomorrow we're starting my Tack Up Wargaming list with the first game on the list, Fleet Commander Nimitz by DVG, in honor of Chester Nimitz's birthday. Wednesday we're heading back to the boxing ring as we play Glory Days Boxing. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.
Thank you.